Right, guys. What we discussed in the last session, guys. What we have discussed in the last session.
Spring MVC, sir.
Spring MVC which concept.
How to send the data from
Multiple controllers.
UI.
Controllers.
Multiple controllers we discussed. Very good. Okay. The last session we discussed about multiple controllers in Spring Web MVC. So, do you know how to represent one class as a controller in the Spring Web MVC?
Yes, sir.
Add controller.
At the
At the
red
red
controller.
At the red controller.
Represent one Java class as a controller, we will use add controller annotation. To represent Java class as controller, we will use add controller annotation. To represent Java class as controller, we will use add controller annotation. Can we have more than one controller in the application?
Yes, sir.
Can we have more than one controller in the application?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yes, we
Yes,
can
sir.
have. Yes, we can have any number of controllers. We can have any number of controllers in Spring MVC based application. Okay, and so do you know how to send the response to UI from the controller? Do you know how to send the response from controller to UI?
Model and
Yes,
Model
by
attribute.
using model attribute.
and
By
Oh,
using
model and view object.
Model attribute
By
is
using
Being-
model
by
attribute.
using key
by
value.
using model attribute, we are going to send the data from controller to UI. Using model object, we can send the data from controller to UI in key value pair format. In key value pair format. So currently we are using JSP as a presentation technology. Do you know how to access model data in the view file?
Yes, sir.
How can
By
we
using-
access model data in the view file?
By using
Dollar.
Model data in view file
dollar attribute.
using expression language. Using expression language.
Expression
How to
language.
represent that expression language?
Dollar.
Dollar
Of key. Dollar of key.
Dollar of key.
We are using to access model data in the controller. Okay. Now, how many key values I can store in the model? How many key
Multiples.
value pairs I can store?
Multiples.
N number of
Number of.
We can send any number of key value pairs in the model
Yes.
object. We can send any number of entries. We can add any number of entries in model object. Do you know how to add an entry to the model object?
Yes.
Yeah. Model dot
Add
Model dot add
attribute.
attribute.
model dot add
Key
attribute
comma.
value which is used to add the data to model object. Very good. Now, so in the last session, I have shown you how to send one entry to the UI by using model object, and I have shown you multiple entries also. How can we send it? So today we are going to discuss about how to send one object to data to the UI directly. So I have a data in the form of object. I want to send that object data to the UI by using model, and I want to access that object data in the UI file, and I want to print it. Okay, can we start working on that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We cannot hear you, Ashok.
I have selected the project packaging type as a WAR file. Clicking on next. Lombok I'm selecting. Web I'm selecting. DevTools I'm selecting. Guys, you see 2.4.3, one more version came into the market. So very frequently, good versions are getting changed. Okay, Spring Web is one dependency, DevTools is one dependency, and Lombok is also one of the dependency that we are selecting for this. Okay, good. Next, click on next button and click on finish. So the project is getting created. Yes, a new version of the boot came. It is downloading the dependencies again.
Sir, until it is downloading the dependencies, I have one question. May I ask you?
Yeah.
Sir, how values are passing through model dot add attribute to JSP file or like Angular
Sir,
file?
it is a map, sir. It is a map that is written from the dispatcher servlet to the UI. Okay, model is an interface actually. For that interface, implementation class will be created, and that is a map. There we are going to store our data in the value that will be written to the who will call our controller method first? Dispatcher servlet. The dispatcher servlet has the data which is there in the model, and view file also we understand by the dispatcher servlet. Whatever the keys that we are using in the view file, the dispatcher servlet will send the data for that. Okay, we'll talk about the internals now.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir, in past application, we pass model and view object, but now we are passing only model. What is the difference between them?
Yes, sir. What is your question?
I say in past application, that YouTube application, we pass model and view object. But here we are passing as only model.
You can pass anything. I will give you two examples. I will give you two examples. Okay.
Okay.
So project got created, guys. As we know already, Spring Boot application will contain a start class, which is the entry point for boot application execution. Which is the entry point for boot application execution. Okay. All right. Now here I'm going to create one Pojo class, which will contain just setters getters to hold the data. New class. New class. I'm taking the class name as book. You can take any class here which is used to store the data. Book. This class I'm keeping in a package called model. I'm keeping in a package called model. Book class I'm taking. Book class I'm taking. Now, inside this class, I'm taking, guys, please mute your mics. Inside this class, I'm taking three variables also. Private integer book ID, private string book name, private double book price, private double book price. Setters getters, I want for that. I'm using project Lombok. For that, we are taking @ data annotation, which is used to generate setters and getters for our variables available here. @ data annotation we are using for generating setters getters for our class, that is from Lombok. Okay, project Lombok we are using. Let me import the package for that. Let me import package for that. Very good. Yeah. Now I want a controller to handle the request to send the data. So I'm creating one class with the name called book controller. Okay, this I'm keeping inside a separate package com.ashokit.controller. Yes. So we already discussed to represent a class as a controller, we will use @controller annotation. We are using one annotation called @controller. @controller. Now, here we are going to write the methods. Okay. Now, public. Can I take the method return type as a string, guys?
Yes.
Yes,
Method
sir.
return type as a string. Public string get book data. Public string get book data. Here I am returning logical view name, that is book details. View name can be anything. It is going to be logical view name. I'm giving the view name as book details. I'm giving the view name as book details. Okay. Now for this method, we are taking one parameter, that is model object. For this method, we are taking one parameter, model object. What is the purpose of this parameter, guys? What is the purpose of this parameter?
Add attribute.
To send
We
data
can
to UI.
store the data.
From controller to UI.
It is
UI.
used to send data from controller to UI.
Excellent. This method we should bind it to a request. For that I'm
Get
using
mapping.
At the rate.
get mapping. Get mapping. So I'm giving /book. Any URL pattern I can give. That means this method is binded to /book URL pattern and it is binded to get request. Okay. Now, now creating book object. Creating book object. To send the data, I need to add the data first. Book B is equal to new book. Creating object for our Pojo. Book B is equal to new book and B dot set book ID, which is 101. B dot set book name. I'm adding this as Spring Boot. Okay. And B dot set book price. Set book price. We can add some amount for that. Okay. Right. Now my data is ready. Now I want to send this data from controller to UI. In order to do that, we need to send the data from controller to UI. In order to do that, I'm going to add the data to the model. Model dot add
About
Here I am giving book data. Okay. Now
B.
R value. What is that? B. B is the value. You can keep that as a book also, no problem. No problem. So with this, we are able to add the data to the model object. Now, can we access this book data in the UI file now?
Yes.
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 Access it. Yeah. So we need to create a view file first. So in the main web app folder is there for web application. New separate folder I'm creating for views. Separate folder I'm creating for views. In this, so can I keep any name for the view here?
No, only
Naming convention.
only view name whatever you are passing.
Whatever my controller method is returning, same name I need to use for the view file here. Views. Next folder. Sorry, folder is already there. I need to create a JSP in that. New other JSP file I need to take.
Book details.
JSP file I need to take. For that file, I am giving book details.jsp. Click on next. Click on finish. Click on next and click on finish for that. Next. Now, book details.
H2, H1.
Book details. Okay. Book data is available in the form of object. My controller is returning the object. That object is a value. So that object value is associated with a key. What is the key here? Book is the key. Book is the key. Now let me print book directly. That is dollar of book I'm printing. Dollar of book I'm printing. What is the meaning of the dollar of book here?
This expression rendering.
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 It will
Which is
render
used
the
to
value.
render
Into
the
the value.
value, which is used to get the value and render the value based on the key. Our key is a book, a value is a book object. Good. Now go to properties file. Go to properties file. Here we are going to specify server.port. Uh, by default, Tomcat is the embedded container for us. It will run on the port number 8080. But here I want to change it. That's why I'm changing to 9090. And we need to configure view resolver also for this. We need to configure view resolver also for this. So do you know how to configure a view resolver?
Yes, sir.
Spring dot
Spring.mvc view dot mvc dot
MVC
dot view dot
view
prefix
dot
Suffix.
prefix.
Prefix and suffix.
Prefix, I'm keeping this in
slash
the
view
Last view.
slash views.
spring dot
Spring
mvc
dot
dot
MVC dot
suffix
view dot
dot
suffix
jsp.
equal to
Dot
.jsp. Okay. Now let us run our application. Run as boot app.
Sir, add Jasper dependency.
Forgot it. We need to add the Jasper dependency. Why we need to
Yeah.
add the Jasper dependency, guys?
Because
To
for
convert into JSP.
To
work with
compile this
JSP, we need to add.
embedded container cannot compile the JSP directly. So we need to add the Jasper so that our JSP files can be compiled and can be rendered as expected. Good. Yes. Tomcat embed Jasper dependency I have added. Perfect. Now let me run this application. Let me run this application. Right click, run as boot app. Okay. Now go to browser. Let's access this. Localhost colon 9090/book. That is the URL pattern. Now, are you able to get the book data?
Yes.
Yes.
Book ID, book name, book price. So it is two-string format of the object. It is two-string format of the object. Why? Because when we have taken this book.java, when we have taken this book, we have added data for this. It is going to generate getters and setters for this variables, and it is having a two-string method also. It is having a two-string method also. So the two-string method representation is printed on the UI, but I don't want that format. I want to print a proper table format. I want to print a proper table format. Now, instead of this, I will ask like this: book ID dollar of what is the key? Book dot book ID. So if you want to access a particular property from the object, so the key is the book here. Let me open my controller. Let me open my controller, that is book controller. My key is the book here. Inside the book, we have variables. Book ID is available now. Let me take book dot book ID. Let me take book dot book ID. Then I'm going to give break tag here. Okay, let us refresh. Am I able to get the book ID?
Yes,
Only
sir.
book ID.
Okay.
So
Only
whenever you send the data in the form of object, okay, object key dot property. Property is the book ID. If I give only BID, will I get that data or I will not get that data?
No,
will not.
Get that data
No.
because it doesn't know what is the BID there. So the
Yes, yes.
variable is the book ID. So we are able to
Book
get
ID.
that book ID. Break tag. Similarly, let me go for book name. Now, can you tell me how can I get the book name?
Book dot
Book
book
dot
name.
Book name.
book dot
book
book
dot
name.
book name.
Dot
Book
book
dot
name.
name.
Book dot book name.
What? Book name is book is what and what is this book and what is this book name?
Book is
Book
the
is the
Book dot book name.
variable.
Book name is the
Book is the key and book name is the property.
property.
Book is the key and book name is the property.
Property.
Yes. Now refresh. I'm able to get
Yeah.
the book name. Perfect. So similarly, go for book price also. Okay. Dollar of book dot
And book price.
book
Price.
dollar of book dot book price. Now I'm able to get the all the book details here which are available in the object. So with this, we know how to send one object to the UI and how can we access that object also. This is one way. Now let me write one more method in the. Can I write more than one method in the controller?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
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 Yes, sir.
Can I
Yes,
write
sir.
more than one method in the controller?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can write more than one method in the controller. This time, I'm taking the return type as model and
Model and view.
You.
get book price or get bookstore address. Get bookstore address. Okay. Now, here also, I'm returning view name that is bookstore. Okay. Bookstore address. Sorry, I can't return this value, guys, because what is the return value now?
Model and view. Model and view.
Model and view we are using.
Model and view object I'm going to create. Model and view is equal to new
Model.
model and view. New model and view. Okay.
Mav.
Now
Dot.
Model.
return model and view object. Public model and view get bookstore address. Model and view object we have created and I'm returning model and view object. Perfect.
Sir, string also we can return directly then.
Yeah, when you want to return the logical view name directly, you can take the string. I want to show you both approaches, sir. Okay.
Okay.
In the earlier method, we have taken string as a return type, view name. There we will add the data into model object. But now I am returning model and view object. I'm returning model and view object. Perfect. Okay. Next one. Now I want to add the data to model object. Okay. String address. String address. So I'm giving this address as house number 7-1. I'm adding some address 7-142 beside Sonabai Temple. Beside Sonabai Temple, Amirpet. Okay, that is our address. Next, what is the view name? What is the view name? First, model dot model and view dot add object. Add object. What is this? Address. So key is addr, value is the address. And the next model and view dot set view name. Set view name that I'm going to write it as address. I'm going to write this as address. Okay. Now this method also I want to bind it to get request. For that we are having one annotation called @get mapping slash address. Now, what is the difference that you have seen in these two methods, guys? So is there any difference between these two methods or there is no difference between these two methods? Can you see any difference between these two methods, or you don't see any difference between these two methods?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, if it takes return type as string, then directly we can return the logical view name.
Exactly.
View is a return type. We have to set
They are
manually
separately.
the view name.
And if you use model and view, then manually we need to add the view, whatever view we need to return. That
View
Yes.
name,
We need to
logical view
manually.
name.
View name and logical view name we written for modern view objects. First time we are writing logical view name only.
Both are same. Both are same. Both are doing only one thing. They are returning the view name along with the data in the form of model object. Okay.
Yes.
So we can write controller methods in two ways. We can write the controller methods in two ways. If you want to return the logical view name directly, then you need to take the model object as a parameter to send the data. Okay. If you don't want to take that model object as a parameter, directly you take the return type as a model and view. Here, to set the data, we will use a method called add object method, and view name also we need to set. What is our view name? Address is the view name.
View name.
Let us create a view name as address. That is the JSP file address.jsp bookstore address. Bookstore address. Now we'll keep that in a expression language. What is ADDR? ADDR is the key. Yes. Now
ADDR
the
is the
value
key.
associated with the key, we are using expression language. To get the value associated with that key, we are using this dollar of ADDR. Okay, good. Clean that.
So request mapping and get mapping are having same functionality,
Get mapping.
and request mapping.
I will use that also, sir. I will tell you. Okay. Get mapping is used to bind our method to get request. Now, are you guys clear with this also? What we are doing in the second method?
Yes.
We are taking model and view object. Okay.
Sir, one doubt, sir. Model and model view, what's the difference?
Yeah, I'm coming to that, sir. Let me run it first. Run as boot app.
Here also we're taking the address as a string, and we can deploy it as a use as a in the book as a string.
Yes, you can do that.
For that, we need to create again object, book object.
Yes. Now send request to /book. We got the book data. Okay. Now here I'm going for /address. Am I able to get the bookstore address?
Yes.
So in the both approaches, we are getting the same response or not? I mean, same way the functionality is working or not? First, /book is one method, /address is one method. When I send a request to /book also, I'm getting the response in the browser. When I send the request to /address also, I'm getting the response in the browser. But as a developer, did I follow one approach to develop both methods, or I followed two approaches to develop both methods?
One approach, sir.
One approach, sir.
One approach.
Two approaches now.
Even though it is two approaches, also we are following one approach only.
Development standpoint, coding standpoint. Two. One method is
Yeah.
returning string as a return type. Another method is returning model and view object as a return type. One method is returning string as a return type. Another method is returning model and view object as a return type. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, now internally, how it is working? That is the question. Okay. Internally, how it is working? When I store the data to the model object, how it is coming to the UI? That is the question that most of you guys are having. So first of all, who is front controller for our application?
Dispatcher.
Dispatcher servlet.
What is the duty of that front controller in our application?
It will dispatch the request.
Dispatcher servlet is the front controller which is used to perform
Pre-processing and post-processing.
which is used to perform pre-processing and post-processing of our request. Okay. After this, we will be having one more component called handler mapper. We'll be having one more component called handler mapper. So what is the purpose of this handler mapper?
It maps the request to the proper controller methods and
It
controller
maps the
class.
request to respective controller because in our application, so many controllers will be available to handle the request. When the request comes to the dispatcher servlet don't know which controller is responsible to process this request. So that's the reason dispatcher servlet will hand over the request to handler mapper. That handler mapper will identify the respective controller to dispatcher servlet. We'll give the details to dispatcher servlet. Okay. Next, who is responsible to process our request?
Controller.
Who is responsible
Controller.
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 process our request? Controller is responsible. To process our request, controller is responsible. Now, dispatcher servlet is going to call the controller method. Controller has to return some response back to the dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet is going to call the controller. That controller is going to return some response to dispatcher servlet. Here we need to understand how this controller is getting executed. How this controller is getting executed. Okay. Now, after this, view resolver will be available. What is the purpose of that view resolver? What is the purpose of that view resolver here?
It will
It
take
apply
logical
the
view name
suffix
and
and
give
prefix
physical
of
view
the
name.
JS.
This
It will
view
take logical view
resolver,
name and gives
this
physical
view
view name.
resolver is responsible to return logical view name.
View name.
Based on the logical view name, it is going to identify where the view files are available. It is used to identify the location of the view file and it will give that view file details to dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet. Okay, now now we have a view component. We have a view component. What is the purpose of this view component?
You will render the data.
Render the method.
It will render the value to the physical view.
It is responsible to render the model data.
It is responsible to render the model data.
Model data.
Now, request comes here. Okay, response goes from here. Request comes here and response goes through here. So this is how the Spring MVC applications are getting executed. This is request and this is response. Request and response is available. Okay. Good. Whenever request comes to, when we are sending a request slash book, when we are sending a request slash book, who is going to receive that request? Dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will hand over the request to handler mapper. Handler mapper will identify who is responsible to handle the request. It will identify the controller. It will identify the controller will give the controller details to the dispatcher servlet. Now, dispatcher servlet will check that controller and is going to call the controller. When the dispatcher servlet is going to call the controller, it is going to check the signature of the controller. Okay. Is that controller method expecting model object or controller method is not expecting model object?
Not expecting.
Let's think about it, because one method is expecting, one method is not expecting. So first I have sent a request for this method /book URL. Is it expecting model object or it is not expecting model object? First method.
Expecting.
First method is
model
expecting. First method is
not
expecting model object or it is not expecting model object?
Expecting, sir.
It is expecting model object.
expecting model object.
So now tell me, who will call our controller method?
Front controller, sir.
Front controller should call this method. So front controller should pass model object as a parameter to call this method, or front controller will not pass model object as a parameter for this method?
It should pass, sir.
It should pass. Now, so what is our understanding? Front controller should create the object for the model and it has to pass the model object as a parameter to this method. Okay. Now let us open this model. See here. Wow. It is a class or it is an interface?
Interface, sir.
Interface.
Interface.
So interface means, can we create the object or we cannot create the object for this interface?
We cannot create.
We cannot create the object.
Create the object for the interface. So it is a kind of a map, but we cannot create the object for this because it is a interface. Now tell me what the dispatcher servlet has to do here.
It will create the object for its implementation class.
Exactly. It will create the object for implementation class of this model. So it is going to create the object for the implementation class of the model and will pass to this method as a parameter.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so whenever dispatcher servlet is creating model object and passing it as a parameter, that object reference available with the dispatcher servlet, that object reference is not available with the dispatcher servlet.
Yes, available.
Object reference will be available.
Object reference will be available. It is a collection. Can I say it is a collection?
Map collection.
Can I say it is a collection?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Say that it is a collection. So who created the object for that collection? Dispatcher
servlet.
created the object for that collection. It passed that object reference as a parameter for the this dispatcher servlet passing. Arey yaar, who is that? Dispatcher servlet is creating object for that collection and dispatcher servlet passing that collection object as a reference, object as a parameter to controller method. After coming the control to the controller method, are we modifying the collection or not? Are we modifying the collection or not, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are modifying the collection by adding the data to that collection by using model.add
Add attribute, yes.
So what is the purpose of that model.add attribute?
We are adding into the model map.
We are keeping one entry in the map. Can I say that we are keeping one entry in the map?
Yes, sir.
Model.add attribute of key comma value.
Yes.
We are keeping one entry in the model. We are keeping one entry in the model. Whenever we keep that entry in the model, that's fine. But reference is already available with the dispatcher servlet, and we are returning logical view name.
Yes.
We are returning what?
Logical view name.
View name. Now, whenever we return that logical view name to the dispatcher servlet, now it is already having the reference of the model object and it is having the logical view name also. Able to understand?
Yes, sir.
The given request, it is already having the reference of the model object and it is already got the logical view name also. Logical view name, it is having the model and it is having the logical view name also. Now, when we do this, dispatcher servlet is going to prepare for these two things. Dispatcher servlet is going to prepare model and view object. It will combine these two. That means the data is available, view name is available. It will combine these two and it is going to create model and view object finally. Model and view object finally. Why? Because model represents data, view represents file name. Model represents data, view represents the file name. So when the first method execution got completed, this is returning view name. Already this model reference available with the dispatcher servlet. If you have the model data, if you have the view name, can it create the model and view object?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Model represents the data, view represents the file.
Sir, internally dispatcher servlet is only creating model and view
Yes,
object
sir. Yes,
and
yes.
keeping both. Yes.
Internally, dispatcher servlet is going to create that model and view object. Once that object is created, then dispatcher servlet don't know where the view files are available. Dispatcher servlet don't know where the view files are available. Who knows where the view files are available?
View resolver.
View resolver.
Resolver.
Now, dispatcher servlet already having the view name. Dispatcher servlet already having the view name. Now, dispatcher servlet will give that view name to view resolver. Now,
Yes.
what this view resolver will do is, it already knows prefix. Okay, prefix plus view name plus prefix plus
Suffix.
view name plus suffix. It is going to apply this formula. It is going to apply this formula. With this formula, what output it is going to get?
The location and the
It is what? Slash views.
views
Slash
logical view name dot extension.
logical view name. What is logical view name?
Book details.
Book details. Whatever
Book
it
details.
is. Book details. What is suffix?
JSP.
Yes.
JSP. Yes.
Dot JS.
Yes.
Now, with this formula, is it able to is it able to identify where the view files are available in the project?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes,
And
sir.
which view file it has to display?
Yes, sir.
So when the dispatcher servlet is giving logical view name to the view resolver, it will apply this formula. Array prefix already available, suffix already available, view name is giving by the dispatcher servlet. Let us concatenate all these things and identify what is the physical location of the view. Prefix plus view name plus suffix. Prefix plus view name plus suffix. With this we got book details.jsp. With this we got the book details.jsp. Fine. Finally, dispatcher servlet got the view also. Where is the view file is available? The dispatcher servlet got that view. Already model data, model object is available with the dispatcher servlet, or model object is not available with the dispatcher servlet?
Yes, available, sir.
Model object is already available. What will be there in that model? Data will be there.
Data will be there.
Key value pair. Data is available in the form of key
Key and value pair.
Now, in which file that data should be displayed, dispatcher servlet knows or dispatcher servlet don't know?
Yes, it knows, sir.
It knows that. Dispatcher servlet knows where that data should be displayed. Dispatcher servlet already knows that where the data should be displayed. Is this clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Without the prefix suffix, the dispatcher know that the prefix the view name.
No, it can't understand that.
Sir, if UI page design in AngularJS or some other different language, so how?
That is a different story, sir. If the UI is designed by using Angular or React, controller will not return the logical view name. Controller will return the response body directly.
Yes.
That is equal to REST controller.
REST controllers.
Yes, we'll cover that part. First, once we complete that controller part, then I will go for REST controller part. If I explain that, now you will get confused. Okay, first let's think that our UI is a JSP or time leaf. Once we are comfortable with this, then I will tell you how to develop our application if the UI is Angular or React. We'll do one integration also.
Yes, sir.
Got my point?
Eclipse has, sir, both compiler for UI language like Angular and.
Yeah, we can do that. Compilation, no, once we build that Angular project, we distribute the binary files, we'll keep here. I will tell you the process, sir. Now, that is not our concept for today. Okay. So now, do you understand what is this model object and what is this view and what is the role of the view resolver here?
Yes, sir.
So, what is model? Model is a map where we will have the data in the form of key and value.
Key and value pair.
What is the view resolver?
It will give a location and extension.
Physical location of the view files.
Yes,
it will give the physical
location
location of the view
View
files.
file.
Excellent. Now, with this step, dispatcher servlet already having the model object, which is containing the data, and dispatcher servlet knows which view it has to render also. Now, what the dispatcher servlet will do is, it will give the model object and view file to the view component here. Array, I have one object, I have one file. You check it. In that file, what are the keys they are accessing? In that file, what are the keys they are accessing? If you find that key in this model object, then you call map.getKey. So do you know how to check whether key is available in the map or not? Do you know how to check
Yes.
key available in the map or not?
Yes, sir. We map.contains key.
Map.contains
key.
Map.contains key. What it will give?
Boolean
It
value.
will give Boolean true or false.
True or false.
Boolean value. Now, if map dot contains key, that key which we use in the expression language, then what it is going to do? Map dot get of key. Map dot get of key. Else,
Not
throw the
available.
exception. Key is not available, then we are going to throw the exception. Now, who will execute this logic? Who will execute this logic, guys?
Dispatcher servlet.
No,
View
component.
View component.
View component. What is the duty of the dispatcher servlet here? It will just give the model object and view file to the view component.
Yes.
What is the duty of the view component here?
It will
Rendering.
check and format the data.
Rendering model data on the particular view file. So how it will render that view file? Based on the keys, it is going to get the values from the map and it is going to render that. If a key is available, it will call map.getOfKey. It will get the value and it is going to print that value. If the key is not available, then it is going to throw the exception. Now people got asking me, sir, we are adding the data to the model and we are returning the view file name. How that model data is available for the view file? So here dispatcher servlet is creating the model object and dispatcher servlet getting the view file by using view resolver. Finally, the model and view object, it is giving to the view component. View component is going to render the data on that file based on the keys. Map.getOfKey, it will give the value. It will print that value. If key is not available, then it is going to throw the exception. If the key is not available, then it is going to throw the exception. Is this clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Any confusion here?
Sir, interceptor concepts, where it will come?
Interceptor will come before dispatcher servlet if you want to add it.
Okay. How many types of handler mappings are there?
There are so many handler mappers are available. Currently, we are using request mapping handler mapper. We'll come to that, sir. We'll talk about it.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now do you understand how the model data is available for the view file?
Yes, sir.
So model object is creating by the dispatcher servlet and view resolver giving the view file. Dispatcher servlet will give model object and view file to the view component. View component will identify what are the keys that are used in the view file. Then it will check whether that key is available in the model object or not. If the key available in the model object, it will get the value. If the key is not available, it is going to throw the exception. It is going to throw the exception.
Yes.
Is this clear, guys? All of you? Now, first approach. Now, if you go for second approach also, do you know what is happening in the second approach?
Yes.
Instead of dispatcher servlet creating the model and view object and setting the data, we are directly adding the data to the model and view object. Add object means data, set view name means file name. We are returning the model object directly to the dispatcher servlet. Then what the dispatcher servlet will do? It will give the view object to the view component directly.
Yes.
You will give the model object directly to the view component. Then what, based on the keys that you are using in the view, it is going to get the data from the model and it is going to render that data. It is going to render that data. Are you guys clear with this?
Sir, in the second approach, programmer is going to create the object for more, no?
Right. Programmer is directly creating the object. That means we are reducing burden on the dispatcher servlet.
Yes.
If we don't create a model and view object, if you ask the dispatcher to give the model, if you return the view, then dispatcher will internally create this object, will set the data. That object will be passed as a parameter to view component that will render the data on that particular view file.
So we can say these are the two ways which we have created. Okay.
Yeah. Now these are the two ways. When we will go for these two ways is, If your UI is a JSP or time leaf. Okay.
Okay.
Your UI is a JSP or time leaf. Suppose if your UI is a Angular or React, then we should not use these two approaches. There is a different
Best
approach.
controller, yes.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Sir.
Sir, can I use direct map instead of model?
Map directly you want to use to return the data. I
Yes.
never tried it, sir. Let's try. I don't think so, but let's try.
Yes, sir. We can map objects slash string something.
Yes, sir. We can directly return model and map, sir.
Model map is there. That is different. He's asking directly. I will take as a map object.
Yes, sir.
Map dot put.
Map dot put off key. Okay. Address data is the file. Instead of address.jsp, we'll keep this view name as address data.jsp. Here we are using address directly. Okay.
So spelling is wrong, sir. Whatever you are passing now, the third method. Yes, data.
To
Double
remove
D
D.
you have taken.
You
Return.
need to remove D. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. Run as boot app. Yeah, we're able to get it. Yes, you can use map also, no problem.
Sir, but internally model is also using map only.
Yes, directly we are using the map here.
Sir, in the latest method you wrote, here you didn't create new map. It means new hash map. You just use map and put the data. What I mean, it is interface, I think.
Yeah,
So,
model is also
can we create hash map or like linked hash map like that?
Internally dispatcher servlet is already
you do one
creating
thing.
it.
System.out.println map dot
get class.
Get class dot get
name.
name. We can understand which class it is using to create the object. Okay. We can't create the object for the map. It will create the object for the interface, which implementation class. Which implementation class it is using, we can see here. No? Now, which interface it is creating now?
Binding aware model map.
It is not directly our map. It is internally using binding aware model map object. Suppose
the model data is also internally working with the binding aware model map only.
Let's try this. Model dot get class dot get name slash book URL pattern.
Finally, it is taking binding aware.
Slash book data. Which one it is
binding
using?
aware.
It is using binding aware model map as an implementation class to create the object and store the data. Okay. So we are taking, someone asked me, sir, you are taking a map, but you have not created the object directly. You are storing the data. How you can create, how the data will be stored to the map? When you pass that map as a parameter, that dispatcher servlet is creating the object for binding aware model map object. And in that object, we are storing the data in the form of key and value pair. Okay, suppose instead of this, if I take a hash map directly, If I take a hash map directly, then what will happen? Let's try.
Address hyphen data. Binding
What it
aware
is
only.
It is whatever the map you pass, it is internally using binding aware model map only to store the data. Okay, it is overriding our map. It is overriding our map. Got it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Guys, I want you people to practice this example before coming to tomorrow's session. Okay.
So can it be possible if we are not creating new object, we can direct add values into the interface?
Yeah.
We can't add directly, man. Here, dispatcher is creating the object before calling this method, sir.
And we are taking the help of
Simple
that
example.
reference variable here.
Simple example, sir. I am adding one M1 method. I am having one M1 method. My M1 method is expecting a map object. Okay. Now I want to add the data to the map. Map.put of key. Okay. 1. That value I want to add it as 101. Now, can I call the M1 method directly like this?
No, sir. No.
Now
We
what
need
I
to
need
create the object for first.
we need to create the object. What I need to do? I need
New
to
hash
create
map object.
Here, you are looking at only this side. Sir, you are taking a map interface, directly you are putting the data without creating the object. But who is creating the object for that map? The person who is going to call the method will create the object and passing that object as a parameter. That means this map means is already object, implementation class object. In that object data we are storing by using key value pair. Here also same thing. You are looking about the only map here. Sir, how can you store the data to the map without creating the object? It is an interface. So don't think about only this. Think about this part. Who is going to call this method?
Dispatcher servlet.
So dispatch servlet will pass the implementation class object to call this method or not?
Yes, yes, sir.
So that object is already created. That object we are getting as a parameter. For that parameter, we are setting the data. Got it?
Yes.
All right. So today we understood what is this model, how it is working internally, what is a model and view object, how the data is going to the UI using model and view object. Good. So in the tomorrow session, we'll talk about path parameters and query parameters, guys. So we understood how to send the data from controller to UI. In the next session, we'll talk about how to send the data from UI to controller. Okay. Thank you, guys. See you.
Hello,
Sir,
sir.
In industry, which one is mostly used, sir? Like model or model map?
Sir, it is simple to use, sir. People will use this approach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sir, one question, sir. Sir, you haven't started join query, sir.
We'll discuss about that, sir. Today is not last day of our course, right?
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Hello.
Yeah, sir. I have seen somewhere at the rate response body also in place of strings.
We'll come to that point, sir. I told you now, if you use
That
Angular,
is REST controller.
if you use Angular,
No.
If you use Angular front end, then you can go for response body. Or else there is another scenario. JSP is a presentation technology. Still, sometimes we'll go for response body. I will cover that scenario as well.
And request body also, sir. At the rate request
For
body.
custom status code, we will.
Yes, sir. Yes, we will do that as well.
Sir, I am Ajay, sir. Hello.
Sir, my application runtime, sir, white level error page coming, sir.
You are not using
Mapping
URL
is not
properly.
You are not giving
URL.
proper URL.
URL mapping is not correct for you.
404.
Yes.
Yes, sir. 4940.
Your
URL
server is
mapping.
working.
Check your URL map.
You are not using proper
And the
URL.
prefix you are using, no? Check the slash before and after.
Yes, sir. I have both are tried, sir, but not issue result, sir.
Tomorrow we will see that, guy.
Okay.
Guy, tomorrow please keep your workspace ready. So tomorrow I will solve your problem. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Please practice this and come back for tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Right, sir. Thank you.